Alright, welcome back to the channel, everyone. So today, UFC President Dana White made some huge fight announcements. Now, if you've been following along with the sport, and especially like the community, the forums, like Twitter, all that, a lot of these shouldn't really come to you as a surprise, but some are out of left field. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So, as per usual, the UFC announces the announcements on Twitter, and everyone was going crazy with suspense, waiting for hours, and like even prominent members of the MMA community with like the verified accounts are like, drop the announcements, Baldy, like, where are you? So, people were going crazy. So he eventually goes live, and from what it looks like, he's in some sort of jet, and he starts off the live by saying, I hear you, I'm busy, I got shit to do. It's like, yeah, you're a president of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Of course you're busy. I mean, the sky's blue as well. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know why that even needs to be said. But the thing that starts to drive me insane is the fact that, well, I'll let it play for a bit. So Dana, he's like, I had a great day. We're about to take off from Washington, D.C. Got a good meeting at the White House. Could not have gone better. It's really awesome. It's like, I'm not asking the guy to go like pop Adderall and drink a bunch of energy drinks and be like, hey guys, UFC announcements, like, no, I don't want that. It's just the fact that you just signed a $7.7 billion deal. You just made $7.7 billion. Well, it's actually a span of 7 years. Shut up. It's coming regardless. Pause. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure no psychotic shit's gonna happen in between, like, when the deal starts in 2026 until it ends. So it's basically guaranteed money, right? So we should already have foreshadowing of everything getting better, right? Obviously the fighter pay, without a doubt. The bonuses, blah, 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 like signing, everything, right? But the quality of the production. It looks like he's recording off of a DS, bro. And for him to say that he's busy and all that, maybe wait until you're back home in the war room and use all this money that you've accumulated to make higher quality announcements with graphics. It's like, all right, coming at you, like more energy. Like, how does this White House card and all these announcements do not get you excited? It's just so monotone and he sounds so bored. Like, bro, the UFC at this point, it feels like his least favorite child. Like, this guy gets more excited over Power Slap, bro, or giving the Nelk boys like money at the casino. It's ridiculous, bro. And I used to really like Dana White back when he would defend the fighters. He would stand on his morals, whether you like them or not. If you have the courage to stand up for what you believe in this day and age with all the censorship and all this stuff, that's enough for me to respect you. Whether I agree with your takes or not, that's entirely whatever. But the fact that someone says what they believe in and backs their fighters and believes in the free speech and all that, I'm 100% for that, right? But you can't tell me that he has the same fire and the same hunger anymore. He does not. He clearly does not. Like, if this White House thing and this deal and all these announcements, yeah, all right, yeah, just get it in. Hey, kid, give me my fucking phone. Like, I've met, like, in my lifetime, many people who have previously owned huge companies. They get to an age where they stop really having that passion. They've made all the money. And then what they do is they ride off into the sunset. They don't stick around and they, all right, yeah, what's the next meeting? Okay, whatever. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, Dana White, if your heart is not in this at all, which it clearly isn't, just retire. It's all good. Have someone else come in, but choose wisely. Make sure they have the passion and the energy. We don't need some soulless suit in your position. But yeah. So he first off announces the return to New York City on November. Main event, Jack Della Maddalena defends his belt for the first time against former ranked pound for pound for 23, 24, 25, Islam Makhachev. And it's just like, he's like, and Makhachev has the ability to move up and become the first, or one of the only double champions in UFC history. And then he just talks about, Della Maddalena's won 18 fights in a row, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, this is literally the definition of a super fight. That's it? That's what I'm saying. It's just like there's no passion. There's no nothing behind his words. It's just, I get you're not a kid. I get you're not like, you know what I mean? I get he's older, right? He's not going to have the whole, but like, it's just a lot of people in the comments, like I'll go over that later, but yeah, the people, it's not as like the announcements that they're annoyed with. It's just his presentation, bro. So we continue. That's the main event, champion versus champion. Well, how is it champion versus champion if he literally took his belt away and refused to have the like it's just like bro. Oh my man. Like bro, am I going insane or not, man? Like it's just, you know, your former pound for pound's becoming or has a chance to become double champion and you're just this is a super fight. Like dude. Oh, I'm sorry. I get it's not WWE. We don't need all these theatrics. I get that. But I'm a human being. I like to be entertained. Sorry. Like, that makes me a casual. I don't care. Like, now, so he also says the Zhang Weili, she's accomplished all she can at 115 or whatever, so she's moving up. To move up to challenge Valentina Shevchenko at the co-main event of 322. Yeah, I guess the number 1 and 2 female pound for pound. So I guess that's cool or whatever. And then he goes on. It's like, oh yeah, Shevchenko's the best flyweight, blah, 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 all the stats. And then Zhang Weili is the first Chinese champion. And she's finished 19 out of 26 wins. And she wants to become the second woman to become the double champion. So we got a little announcement. 2 super fights. So, I mean, hey, he got a little excited there. Hey, you know. But, yeah. Also on the card, former champion. Now, this is the one that came out of left field. Now, I know it was rumored, and Carlos Prates did ask for this. But the fact that Leon accepted this truly, like, surprised me, right? Because that's the thing. I don't think Leon Edwards is a coward or anything like that, right? I just think that in my video previous to this, I was like, I hope Leon Edwards accepts this because he's not going to want to accept another grappler, right? And he's lost 2 of his last 2 fights very dominantly, so he really doesn't have a say to be like, oh, well, I don't want to fight Carlos. He's too low in the rankings, lad. So it's like... So Carlos is a striker primarily. Obviously does have good grappling. Well, decent grappling, not like, it's not one of his main attributes. He's primarily a striker, so this should be a striking match. Now, a lot of the rumors where it's like, oh, well, Ian Gary might be fighting Leon Edwards. And I really didn't want that because I think Ian Gary, his biggest flaw is his... I want to say passivism, but obviously he's a fighter. It is what it is. But, like, he's not in there for, like, the kill, right? And I know he went forward against Prates for sure, but he doesn't have that, like... I don't think he has, like, that brawler finisher, right? Because when he comes up against these higher-level elite competition, he's tending on getting decisions, right? And it is what it is. Like, you can't finish everybody, but, like, he kind of reminds me of, like, a Corey Sandhagen, you know? Where he finishes, like, the lower-level guys for sure, but when it comes to the higher level, he just doesn't have that output or whatever. So, to me, I'm very glad that Ian Gary didn't get the fight because I just felt like it would kind of be like more of like a point, not sparring, but like, you know what I mean? It's just not as action-packed, right? And the same thing with Carlos Prates. He learned that it's just like, okay, a tall striker. I was a little too passive against him. I didn't take him as seriously as I should have. I'm assuming he learned that mistakes considering how he literally just bang to Jeff Neal, right? So I feel like he's going to have his wits about him. It's like, okay, I cannot let these rounds skip by me. And I'm happy that he's not on the October Brazil card because it's like, we don't need everyone to just turn around so quickly. Like, watch Charles Oliveira, right? Everyone can see his really stupid decision of accepting that fight. You know, what is it, like 3 months after he's been knocked out cold? So, yeah, I'm happy that Carlos Prates, because Carlos is about to start his real run, because I get that he was derailed by Ian Gary. And a lot of these idiots being like, oh, Carlos got beat by Ian Gary, he ain't shit. I never said that. I was always on the Carlos Prates hype train. A little bump in the road. Now he's back on track with Jeff Neal, and now he's going against Leon Edwards. Now, to me, that also excites me because it's like, okay, I doubt Ian Gary, right? He just won his last fight, so I don't think he's going to want to fight down in Michael Morales, sorry. And so that must make that Michael Morales is coming back against Shavkat. That's the rumor on the street, and if that's true, Prates, Leon Edwards. Morales versus Rakhmonov. Holy fuck. You know what I'm saying? So it's looking good for the top of the welterweights. Apparently, Ian Gary turned down Sean Brady. I don't know if that's like true. Maybe it's the timing because Ian Gary doesn't seem like the type to turn that down. But I remember he was like, oh, why don't I just take on Bilal because he beat you. Like he literally battered Sean Brady. And that's the reason why I can never say that Sean Brady is going to be champion. If you get outstruck and TKO'd by Bilal, you know what I'm saying? Like I can't vouch for you to become champion, right? That's all my faith in Sean Brady was evaporated. I get he did that to Leon Edwards. Cool. But maybe he does have the skill set to become champion. Maybe that was an off night, but that left a real bad, like, I don't want to say taste in my mouth, but like really bad impression. So it is what it is. But moving on. And then Dana basically goes on, he's like, everyone's favorite. So that just goes to show they're still so high on Prates. And I'm so glad about that as well. Because Prates, as much as like, oh, I don't like he smokes. I don't like he's a character. He brings excitement. He brings energy in the face-offs. Like, I love everything about him. He learned English. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. We just need these promotable people, right? And I can't wait for this fight. To me, this is the fight that's I'm most excited for because the Islam Makhachev JDM fight, sure, it's great and all, but it's more like I'm just really hoping Makhachev wins because the super fight, the real super fight, I get the Makhachev versus JDM is going to be big, but it's more of like an on-paper thing. Like, there's going to be no rival or heat between them, you know what I mean? Like, remember Bilal versus JDM? JDM went harder on fucking Ian Gary. I don't believe that's his son. You know what I mean? So this fight's not going to have any heat on it, right? Whereas the fight that I'm like, holy fuck, this is the fight of the, decade or whatever, will be Makhachev versus Topuria for the 165-pound belt, newly formed. Makhachev relinquishes the 170, turns into 175. Ilia Topuria relinquishes the 155. Boom, they fight at the White House for the new 165-pound division. Boom. But, that's here nor there. So, basically, he's just like, oh yeah, UFC 322, blah, 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 great, whatever. So he's like, I also want to update you on UFC 321 Abu Dhabi. Headlined by Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gane. So he's like, okay, another UFC title fight. So people were wondering, it's like, okay, what's the co-main with Aspinall and Gane? So he says, Vernon Jandiroba is taking on 5-ranked Mackenzie Dern for the vacant, I think, strawweight title. Whoa! No. I can't even pretend to be excited about that, so, you know what I mean? It is what it is. But as far as, like, the other Zhang Weili, Valentina Shevchenko one, I feel like what they could do is take, because you know how they're going to do the Amanda Nunes versus Kayla Harrison, and then Zhang Weili versus Shevchenko. I feel like, and I know I don't run the UFC. I know, well, what do I care, right? Because I'm not the biggest, like, yeah, women's division, yeah! Like, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't watch their fights. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Oh, no, I'm exposed. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to come here and lie and hype up something I don't care about, right? But that being said, obviously, they're really good fighters. I'm not taking that away from them. It doesn't excite me. But what I feel like the UFC should do is, like I said, take the winner of Kayla Harrison Nunes and Zhang Weili versus Valentina Shevchenko. Put the winners of those two together, all the marbles. Boom. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm pretty sure all 4 of them are getting relatively older for their weight classes. So, yeah, all the marbles, boom, there you go, done. All right, so he continues talking about the fight with Jandiroba. I mean, come on. It's Mackenzie Dern versus them, whatever. Don't care. Now he announces another one for, I think, UFC. Yeah, also being added to UFC 321. Another one that's been rumored. A lot of people, if you're in the know, you've been seeing a lot of this about this fight. Umar makes his return against Mario Batista. Now, I said this for a while. The dumbest shit in the world was that Petr Yan, I get you wanted to stay active. You wanted to just, sharpen your skill set, beating Marcus McGee. Petr Yan was obviously much better than Marcus McGee. Like, Marcus McGee, he landed some shots, but you know what I'm saying? Let's be real. The dumbest shit in the world is because Petr Yan and Umar both have lost to the champion. But they're both, have been doing quite well in their careers. Like, Umar, obviously, he's not as active as Petr Yan. He's not as established, but he beat Corey Sandhagen, right? Corey's fighting for the belt. So, in my opinion, I'm like, why the fuck is Petr Yan not waiting, 1 or 2 extra months and fighting Umar? You know what I'm saying? Because once this fight happens with Umar versus Mario Batista, and let's say Umar, knocks him out or just a crazy submission or something, whatever, right? How would Petr Yan have the ability to call his shot over Umar? And I get Petr Yan has more, accolades and all that. I understand that. But seeing how he fought Merab, and I was just wasn't like a 50-45. He had nothing for him. Similar like the Dricus Chimaev one. And if Umar goes in there and takes out Mario Batista, who is, regarded as a much better win than Marcus McGee, right? So Umar's probably going to get the title shot. So Petr Yan really shot himself in the foot, unknowingly, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he didn't think this through, but yeah, I always said that they should have waited because it just doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Because that's the thing, too. They're both Russian. That was kind of the big rivalry there, too. I'm sure it's not personal or anything, but, it's just they're both clearly really good. The top 5, whatever the rankings say, I don't care. Umar and Petr Yan are always going to be in the top 5 as long as they're in their peak form. They're both top 5 fighters, so should have been happening because Sean O'Malley, I know he wants to get back in the mix, but no one wanted to see him against Umar because if you can't beat Merab, how the fuck are you going to beat Umar? You know what I mean? So that's the thing. Maybe they do a Petr Yan O'Malley one, depending. And if Umar or Petr Yan, he's shit, Umar's going to get the title shot next after Corey. Petr Yan might want to get that one back. And if I'm Petr Yan, I'm okay, that's a lot of people thought I won that, and it's a very winnable fight as well. Considering Sean O'Malley's confidence, I'm sure is relatively low compared to when he first fought Merab. Because getting the first fight people were saying was close, but it really wasn't. You know what I mean? But the second fight, night and day. He had nothing for him. So I'm sure Sean O'Malley's probably a shell of his former self mentally. I know it's all this stoicism and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? We're all people at the end of the day. I'm not going to sit here and be getting dominated twice in a row. Yeah, you're going to be confidence through the roof. No, obviously not. So if I'm Petr Yan and if this is what happens, boom, call it O'Malley. You know what I mean? Redeem your loss, right? Because I remember watching that one back and I don't think O'Malley won. But that's here nor there. So redeem yourself and then boom, guarantee next title shot. And stays busy too. So, yeah. And that's all he says he has. And then another thing that I find funny, he's like, oh, well, everyone on the main card's ranked. That should be bare minimum, bro. For a pay-per-view, that should be bare minimum. Every single fight on the main card should be ranked, without a doubt. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you're bringing in some hype prospect or whatever, sure, fine. But generally speaking, if they're from the UFC, they should all be ranked. I don't care. Generally speaking. So I guess he says that he's going to have some more details on the White House card too in a few weeks. So then I'm wondering, what the fuck did even get done? Maybe logistics or the place or maybe structurally because, you're not going to book a fight that's, not a whole year, but probably 10 or 9 months away. So, divisions and landscapes change. But yeah, that's kind of that for the whole Dana White announcements. And actually, yeah, before I leave, I just want to check the comments here. Read off some. So let's see what the streets are saying about this, right? As I said, a lot of people were not disappointed with the quality of the announcements. It was just, how he's doing it. So this guy says, announcing fights in 240p live, and then it's just a laughing emoji. And it's true. It's why are you recording off a fucking potato? These are huge announcements. It isn't just a run-of-the-mill Apex fight night. You know what I mean? And then One guy says, bro just took a Xanax. He doesn't give a fuck about any of these fights. And it's so true. It's like, it's so annoying. And then he said, the one guy says, I was not expecting Leon to accept the Carlos fight, not gonna lie. And yeah, I'm surprised too. Like, I feel like it was either Prates or Morales. So, you know, it is what it is. I feel like Leon Edwards really kind of hands were tied. Like, how are you going to turn down Prates? You know what I'm saying? And then this guy says, UFC doing bare minimum promotion-wise. That's what I'm saying. And then this one guy says, hey, kid, chuck me my fucking phone, quote-unquote, from MMA Guru. And it's so true. And then this one guy says, I'm busy, I got shit to do in quotations. Then don't announce it this way. Facts, honestly. And then, yeah, a bunch of other ones, like, in the same kind of theme. But, yeah, the streets are not having it. Like I said, Dana, you've done great. You've brought this sport, I mean, with the help of McGregor and all these stars, but you've brought this sport to its peak. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like with the lack of energy and the lack of emphasis on quality of anything, I feel like we need a new face, especially going into this new deal era, where it's just like, I don't even want to say quarter-assing. I'm going to say they're probably at 16th-assing, you know, effort at this point. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I need, like, especially, you know what I'm not going to say it. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and peace. See you on the next one.